The idea, insight, or secret you need for massive impact is just moments away. It's time to claim your career crown. The podcast where business owners and entrepreneurs share the keys to the kingdom to help you open the vault to your greater success. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Petite to Queen's Claim Your Career Crown show. And I'm your host, Lynn Whitbeck, and today I'm joined by the amazing and wonderful Jill Lublin. And today we're going to be talking about how you can use guerrilla publicity to create more visibility, leads, and profits. Now, as always, if you get a ton of value out of this episode, I would love to invite you to subscribe to our podcast. It costs nothing to subscribe, and you can listen to it anytime, anywhere. So now about Jill, I have to tell you, I met Jill last year in June. She just knocked my socks off. She is a 25-year media magnet. Now, she is a world-renowned publicity expert, international speaker, and 4-time best-selling author. Wow. Jill has made thousands of stage appearances alongside celebrities such as Tony Robbins, Corcoran, and Jack Canfield, to name a few. Now, Jill has worked with over 100,000 clients. What a big number. Implementing her signature formula for getting media attention, creating next level visibility in the marketplace, and that result in boosted sales. These lead and profit generating formulas are included in her signature program, the Media Mastery Intensive, and her monthly kindness circles. Well, Jill, I am so glad that after 6+ months, we're finally getting this done. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I'm delighted to be here with you and all your viewers.
Yeah, this is going to be a great conversation. And, let's sort of back up just a bit and talk about what inspired you to get started.
Well, it was part inspiration and part falling into my natural talents. I started actually in law school and really wanted to be an attorney and was excited about that. And then I got to law school. And my highly creative mind, not a great place for that. And during law school, the first year, I actually got involved in the music business. I figured, well, if I'm going to be here, I better do something fun for me. And so I entered the entertainment industry, specifically the music business. And that's where I found my talent for promotion and publicity. Then I ended up quitting law school and starting as director of promotion and publicity at several independent record labels. And I had actually a 5-year wonderful career in the music business, which I loved. And that was great.
Well, that's amazing. We've got several of our team members who have their master's degree in music business, which is just, small world, ironic, right?
Yes.
So that's a wonderful place to get started. Now, let's go really dive deep into this topic. So how can people use guerrilla publicity to create more visibility, leads, and profits?
So, what you got to realize is that, truthfully, you are doing publicity, whether you're doing it or not, right? Because from the minute you walk out your door, whether it's into a Zoom room, whether it's networking, whether it's at the coffee shop or on the airplane, you are representing yourself, your business. And people will say, what do you do? It's the famous question, right? And I want you to be prepared with that, but also with an answer that you have an opportunity to get media coverage, whether it be local or national, whether it be podcasts, blogs, TV, radio, newspaper, magazines. All of it matters and everything counts. Speaking of, I know you mentioned I have spoken on Jack Canfield's stage, and I actually just recently had the opportunity to listen to him. And one of the things he was saying was that for chicken soup for the soul, which is,
Yeah.
over 500 million copies have been sold, and he sold his company for more than 80, I think it was million, maybe $1 billion. Point is a lot. That he said really clearly, the thing that helped us become famous and well known was publicity. I mean, they were just two guys with something called chicken soup for the soul. Nobody knew what it was. It was publicity that pushed them over the edge, that made them famous. And for all of you, wherever you are right now and whoever you are doing, whether it's, solopreneurship or you have one or two people working for you, the point is you want to be known. You want people to say, I've heard of you somewhere. And that is what publicity does.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how people get to like, know, and trust you, is through that. And I agree with the entire introduction piece, which is why we have the intromercial. And I know you know Jane, who started that, but that's something that we've partnered on and we have as well now. So it's that whole way you introduce yourself to really, grab people's attention quickly. So
Yes.
now let's dive back into the guerrilla publicity, because this is really important. I want to know, how do you do this, Jill? I mean, do you have a process? What goes on the hidden backside?
So I definitely believe in systems for publicity, like you have in every business. I've developed multiple systems. I have particularly 4 documents that usually get done in every program I'm offering to people. So one of them is your message. You have to be looking at your message, making sure that it's concise and precise. And I recommend to people to do this every 30 days. Every 30 days, get aligned with your message. Make sure it's congruent with who you are, that it's reflective of you and your personality, as well as what you're actually doing and working on right now, because obviously you might have different launches and different times, right? And different
Yeah.
aspects of things coming out in your business. So that's a really good way to keep on track. And then I think every 60 days, I like you to make some kind of announcement. This is not a press release. This is announcing perhaps an anniversary, or you got elected to a board, or you won an award, or you launched a new program. It could be anything that is worthy of an announcement. And that's a really great way to create the I've heard of her somewhere syndrome. And every 90 days, I want you to look at your bio. Is your bio updated? Is it on track? Did you lose some things and gain some things? I remember in the pandemic when I was looking at my bio, I realized one of my courses, the publicity crash course, it said teaches them live and live and online. Well, guess what? Everything went online, and just these little switches that are, again, congruency is important. And so double check all of these things. So every 90 days, you're looking at your bio. Those are 3 systems right there, very practical for all of you, that if you start doing those immediately, already you're going to elevate your level of publicity and you'll be current and up to date.
Yeah, that's such great advice. Thank you so much. And I agree, you do need to be constantly, you know, things change, that classic book, Who Moved My Cheese? So you've got to stay on top of that and be ready to shift, refine, tweak, etc. So I have another question for you, because I think this strikes a lot of people. Why is guerrilla publicity such a challenge for so many?
Well, the first big thing is that maybe you haven't taken the baby step into it. And
Yeah.
I do recommend baby steps. I mean, obviously, here's what I've discovered in working with over 100,000 people. When you get your message, which is the first system I ever
Yeah.
teach anyone, when you get your message clear, and sometimes it takes a little practice, looking in the mirror, practicing, having it get into you. The reality is that people are going to see you as more confident. And what I know is that when you get your message clear, your confidence accelerates. just, so happens, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that that's really an important key is focus specifically on the message. That's why I like people looking at it every 30 days. And that helps a lot. But I'll tell you, to do nothing gets you nothing. And what I do, right? And what I do know is that people who do publicity consistently, this is not big companies, I'm talking about people just like you who are watching, that you're the ones who are going to get those leads and prospects and referrals, and that people are going to go, I've heard of you. There's elevated trust, and you become the sought after expert in your field.
Yeah. And that's so true. I mean, I don't know how many times that messaging is so crucial. You meet somebody at an event or a networking. I mean, even when we met in June, there's, I would say 75% of the room, you ask them what they do, and 5 minutes later, you still don't know what they do.
Right.
And they don't have a clear, succinct way to explain that. And one that's interesting, that one that drives you to say, well, tell me more. That's interesting. I'm curious about that. So I think that is brilliant. And that is a perfect first step. And I do see that as a challenge, because I encounter that all the time. I mean, a classic for me is I met with a prospect who was referred to me, and an hour and a half, I still didn't understand what she did. It was so tangled, with such a tangled up mess.
Ooh.
And I had another meeting. It took about another 30 minutes, and I finally realized what she did. And it was like, well, no wonder you're not getting any traction at all. I knew that after the first 5 minutes, but
Yeah.
anyway.
And it's way too long to keep anybody on the phone these days. I mean, really, I just say to all of you, time is an important commodity. And guess what? For the media, I'm just going to say that most media interviews, check this out, 4 minutes. If you're on major television, for instance, well, that's short. You better come out swinging, powerful, have simple messages, and be able to communicate them quickly.
Absolutely. So now this is a sort of related question, but why is publicity, in this case, guerrilla publicity, which we've been talking about, typically a blind spot for business owners and entrepreneurs? Why do they not think about publicity?
Well, I think a mistaken stinking thinking is that maybe they're not ready for it, or that's for the big boys and the bigger companies. So not true, I will tell you, because what's so wonderful is that if you're taking initiative and being the one to get your message heard, just think how far ahead of you are and anyone who does something similar to what you do, because now you've been seen, whether it's local news or national news. You're the one who can brag about this and go, hey, I've been featured. There's nothing so powerful as that. And all those logos that you start collecting that you can now use everywhere you go and on everything you have, your website, your social media, everything you're promoting. Those logos of where you've been featured speak volumes.
Yeah, I mean, that's that social proof. And within that sales parameter, my area of expertise, that adds to your credibility. It adds to your level of authority and expertise. I mean, it's truly something that sets you apart rather than swimming in a sea of sameness.
Big time, big time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now for everyone who's tuned in today, I think the question on their mind is going to be, well, what should I do next about creating that visibility, the leads, and more profits?
So I'm going to give you 3 things. I know you didn't ask, but I like to overgive, if anything. So first thing is get clear on your message, which we started talking about. 2 is get yourself on Google Alerts. So put your name in so that anytime there is any publicity, you will know quickly. And put in like one word. So for instance, when I wrote The Profit of Kindness, I put in the word kindness. Now I know that November 13th, for instance, is World Kindness Day. I can orient my publicity toward that. And Thirdly, I want you to check nationaldaycalendar.com. It's a great resource
Yeah.
for holidays that are specially oriented toward anything that you might do, or perhaps somebody who you are. Like if you're Hispanic, let's get you out for Hispanic Heritage Month. That's a great time to go out there. I call it use everything you've got. So think about that as you're looking at nationaldaycalendar.com and other ways to get into the media. It's a very creative way that actually works.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I love each of those ideas. They're incredibly important, and it's a great place to get started, and it's not going to take you very much time to get that done. Now, Jill, is there anything you wish I had asked you and I did not?
Well, I think, people get in their mind that publicity is hard. And I just want to say it's easy with these simple steps, baby steps. And part of this is gaining confidence as you go. So I encourage you to start with the things we talked about. These are all very doable. And then practice, practice in front of the mirror, practice building your confidence. Although I really want to underline that when your message is clear. And by the way, this is an evolutionary process.
Yeah.
So please understand your message, like you, will grow.
Yeah.
Right? But you start wherever you start. It's perfect. And even if you're not so perfect, it's about progress, not perfection. And that's going to make a big difference for all of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also say make sure you lean into who you really are, your authentic self. That is so important to add to your confidence and assurance as, be who you are. That's a special elixir that no one else can duplicate.
There you go.
There you go. All right. So, Jill, thank you so much for sharing how to use guerrilla publicity to create more visibility, leads, and profits. Now, I know that our listeners are going to want to know more about you and how they can connect with you.
Absolutely. So I've created a free gift for all of you, which is a double the fun gift. So you will receive an action guide filled with great publicity tips, like we've talked about, and more, plus an interactive live masterclass, publicity masterclass with me, where I will give you even more content and answer your publicity questions. So check both those out at jilllublin.com/guide. And I very much look forward to the opportunity to serve you.
And that's perfect, because we'll make sure that it's in the chat right now for all those who've joined us live. And we'll include it right down below if you're listening to the podcast afterwards. So Jill and this wonderful guide is one click away for you, along with all of Jill's other ways to connect, right? So I want to thank everyone who tuned in today. We so much appreciate your being here and sharing this experience. And this has been a really informative discussion, which I appreciate so much, Jill. And thank you for sharing your wisdom and your brilliance and these great nuggets for our listeners.
Well, thank you, Lynn. I'm so grateful to all of you, and of course for you and the work you do in the world. And really want to remind all of you that your message matters. Let's get it out there.
What was your biggest takeaway from this episode? I would love to hear about it. It's important to share the things you love. If you loved this episode, a 5-star review really helps keep the podcast coming to you regularly. Also, if you want to get more sales strategies to grow your business, make sure you subscribe right now. If you want to get results even faster, I invite you to download my sales strategy checklist at petitetoqueen.com/checklist. This has been Lynn Whitbeck, host of Claim Your Career Crown. I'll see you next time.